Hello, welcome to the Sometimes Relevant League Cup special podcast. You're here with three very knowledgeable amateur pundits in the form of Jack Maiden, James Martin, and Ryan Steffel. First, we're going to talk about the results from last night, which included Everton 1-1 Norwich, Hull 1-1 Leicester, and Sheffield United 3-0 Arsenal. James Martin, you saw the match. Give us your thoughts.
Well, Arsenal kind of picked a pretty shit team, to be bluntly honest. I think, if you look at what the pundits said after the match as well as themselves, they let them down. I mean, I'm not sure who else watched it, but Mertesacker in defence should be clearing set pieces as such for the second and the third goals. Mertesacker should be. I mean, he's a big, lanky streak of piss, and that's all he can do. So that's what he should be doing. I mean, FIFA overrated. Well, that's a story for another day. But the players were overrated. They didn't warm up properly. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain got injured subsequently, as did Theo Walcott, and Arsenal are going to suffer for that later on in the season. I mean, do you think Arsenal can win the league without Theo Walcott?
No, I don't.
About you, Milky?
I think Arsenal this season look like a real outfit for the title. I think they've got a few key players. I don't think Theo Walcott is one of them. I actually do like Giroud. I have to admit. I think the combination. I think providing that they have Sanchez and Ozil, and a couple of years ago I would have said that Ozil was probably one of the worst signings Arsenal have ever made. But recently this season, the connection between a few of their key players, like the ones I've mentioned, actually make them a suitable candidate for the league title, and especially with some other teams not performing. But you look at Arsenal in comparison with I don't know, United, who United have got quite a lot behind them, but I just prefer the way that Arsenal are playing this season.
I think that you've hit on the point there, because against Bayern Munich, having watched that game, Arsenal didn't play what you imagine as Arsenal football, but they played a way to win, almost like your old Chelsea teams, like last season.
Present.
And your old United teams under Ferguson, when they might go up against Real Madrid or Barcelona, and they played out and they won the match. They sacrificed their style for that. But my one thing with Walcott is that I think Giroud is a kind of one-dimensional striker. He's not a bad striker, he's just one-dimensional. And Walcott,
Yeah, I agree. And also, in regards to the Bayern Munich match, you'll notice that they only turned up with that kind of performance after they're already lost like 3 matches in a row. They don't ever turn up from the start, and that's because they're mentally weak and they'll never win the league under Wenger again.
Would you say they're weak and naive, Jack?
I would say they're weak and naive. I say they're weak and naive in almost every single match they play. Just because they played well one time against Manchester City away doesn't mean they're a good team.
Yeah, but my problem with them in the league is more the fact that if you go up with Giroud every match, that's very good. But there are some defences that can deal quite easy with Giroud, and that would not deal with Walcott, and vice versa. And I think that's what's really helped Arsenal at the beginning of this season.
What did you make of Arsene Wenger's post-match comments?
I think it's disgraceful if you thought you put out a team with one chance to win, to be honest with you, or if you put out players that you didn't feel ready, because you're putting them out under the limelight, and you know they're going to fail. That's not fair on the players. That's how I see it.
Right, so let's move on to the Stoke-Chelsea game. It ended 1-1 and Stoke won 5-4 on penalties. Give us the view of a Chelsea fan, Ryan Steffel.
Yeah. When I've been speaking about Chelsea this season, and when I've been writing a few blog posts actually, and just talking to general friends, it's not been filled with much optimism. I just like to put that there. But actually, I was thoroughly surprised with the team. I think, I sent a message to a couple of my friends last night in the first half, and I was actually quite pleased with the performance. That it seemed to be reminiscent of how we were playing last season with the Hazard coming in and playing cute little passes of Oscar and Willian, and like the players able to try something. We haven't looked optimistic in the way we've been playing this season, but we did actually start really well. Unfortunately, again, as it's been all season, we've conceded a goal, and it's kind of dropped the players a little bit. I mean, if you're playing that well and you're creating chances, but you're just not putting the finishing, not finishing your chances, you know that something's going to come and kick you up the arse. And unfortunately, it was one of those goals from Stoke which you don't really see that often from Stoke.
Oh, it was a class goal.
But it was almost like and when I've used the term before, but like a Coutinho-esque goal. When someone scores a Coutinho-esque goal, it means that there was no real like, it wasn't as if it was a one-on-one chance. It wasn't as if it was like cute little play. It was where someone literally took it from outside the box, hit it, and it just rattled into the back of the net. And it was a sublime finish from John Walters, and he's done it to us a couple of times, so I can't really say it's a fluke.
Milky, can I interrupt you?
Yeah, you can. Carry on.
It was a James Rodriguez goal. It was identical to that goal in the World Cup against Uruguay. And it was sublime. Having seen only really the extra time, I can understand where Ryan comes from on Chelsea playing much better than they have done in other games that I've seen them play this season. There was actually an attacking flow. They're failing to take their chances, and we're going to come to other teams that are failing to take their chances in a minute. But overall, if they play like that, will they win at home? Probably. Will they beat Liverpool?
Yeah, I mean, I'll touch on that later on in a minute. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to drag on too much, but I just want to give you a bit of rundown. Towards the end of the game, it was getting to the 80th minute. We had quite a lot of chances to equalise, and I will be honest, I was starting to get really deflated. I was starting to think we're going to lose this because we weren't taking any chances, and how the goal happened in the first place, I have no idea. I think Bertrand Traore took a shot from outside the box, and Butland tipped it over the goal. We got a corner, and then the corner came in. It sort of like deflected off of someone's head, dropped down to Remy, and he sort of brought it down with his right foot and just like swung his leg at it, and it went into the roof of the net. And I was screaming with at that point.
I mean, I was talking to you at the time, and you were kind of resigned to losing at that point.
Yeah.
And you were kind of like that point where it's just upset we've lost this game. And there was a relief. There was a relief about the goal. But at the end of the day, I know you went out the cup, but I guess you can come out of it and say there was cause for optimism there, which.
Yeah, but I don't think Roman Abramovich will see it like that. I don't think he's got many defeats left in him. I really don't. I think one or two more defeats and he's gone.
But it's a League Cup. At the end of the day,
the thing
which respect it, but the cup is the cup, and I think it's a blow to silverware chances, but it's not a blow to Chelsea's top 4 chances. At this point in the season, given the start, that should be the end.
But the thing is, like, let's hypothetically say that and I mentioned it yesterday. I say we beat Liverpool at the weekend, and I'm not going to touch on this too much. And I think we've got Kiev, and then we've got Stoke away, and we get a 1-1 draw at Stoke away. I'll be fine. I'll be happy with that, because going to Stoke is not an easy game. All right, there have been teams who have gone to Stoke and conceded 6 goals. I'm not mentioning names, but it's happened. Right, and just to move on slightly, and just to finish up really, the extra time again. Stoke had 10 men at that point, and we should have really capitalised. We didn't. It went to penalties, and I remember saying when everyone was lining up, Jose was talking to Hazard, and I was like, I know Hazard is going to miss this. I preempted it because he's not been playing well. He played extraordinary in the game. He should have scored at least 1 or 2 goals. He didn't, and you got the feeling there that he was going to miss, and he missed. And he went to the away fans, and I think he tried to sort of like, I don't know if he clapped them, but he tried to sort of say sorry. Whether it's necessary or not is another thing.
I mean, I'm sure Jack would agree with me. I would have preferred it if it was John Terry that stepped up for the penalty given.
Yeah, how funny that would be. But just to finalise, I think we had a good game. I think it was we were okay.
One question to end this point on. You say you're happy if you draw Stoke in the Premier League. Is that regardless of performance? If you draw them at the Britannia?
Performance is very important. And just to touch on that point, Jose in his post-match presser, I don't know if you saw any of it.
I've seen it.
He said 2 things. He said a couple of months ago, people were hammering him about the performance of games rather than the results, and now the results are more important. Secondly, he also said, which I found quite interesting, that he came out and said it. Someone asked him in his post-match presser, said, "Do you think this has been a good example of your players fighting for you today?" And he came out and he said, "Well, if you look in the last couple of games, how can you say that my players didn't go out and try their best today? They tried absolutely everything. They couldn't get a goal, and that's the reason we ended up with the result today, as well as a good, obviously, defensive play from Stoke." He then said, against West Ham last week, we were 10 men. We had 10 men, and they kept on going and kept trying, and we lost 2-1. So I think the fight is there, and I think it'd be interesting to get a neutral's point of view on that.
Is your one worry then, like your lack of clinical edge right now? Because last season, Fabregas, Hazard, Costa, they all were scoring so many chances they got last season. They were all doing well, and Fabregas making a lot as well. Do you fear that clinical edge right now is not there? I'm not lacking the fight. The fight was there yesterday.
Yeah, I think what I'm worried about most at the moment, I think I'm worried. I don't sense that there's any sort of war between players or a civil war in the club at the moment. I think it's all to do with confidence. I think we started badly, and now the players are fit and they look hungry, but they're just not finishing the chances. And I'll be honest, when you see that players can't finish the chances, and Liverpool have had it for a while really, players get frustrated, and players get annoyed, and players like just constantly asking why, and they go into a spiral of like lacking confidence and going from one to the other. So
I think that's probably a good point to close on, Chelsea. I mean, it sounds like
I think we should leave it there. I think it's not my last phrase that I would sort of end on is that it's not all doom and gloom after last night. I think there were some.
You can build on some stuff.
Okay, let's move on to the final segment of the podcast. There are 4 League Cup matches on tonight. We're going to give you our predictions and some short thoughts on them. We're going to start with Liverpool v Bournemouth. I'll go first. I think it's going to be 1-1. I can just see it happening, and I think Bournemouth will win on penalties. I think even though Klopp has enforced, like more pressing, they work harder, they run the extra miles or whatever he said, there's no quality. They've got no quality whatsoever. And like with Origi up front, I can't see him scoring. I think it'll be a lucky header from a corner or something that will get them ahead. I think Bournemouth will equalise later on, and then Bournemouth will win on penalties.
Well,
over to you, James.
I mean, obviously, I can go into this slightly more than the Liverpool fan. I think there's more about Liverpool. I think Bournemouth will be dreadful as a place as well. I think that's going to play into Liverpool's hands. I think Liverpool are more than overdue a win. I actually predict Liverpool win 3-1. I can't see Liverpool keeping a clean sheet. I think that some players, maybe Saka, might be rested. He is the only class centre-back that Liverpool have, and whoever is the other centre-back with him is always a liability. And then you've got, I think, you've got Mourinho and Klein, but again, I don't think both of them will start today. In regards to the midfield, I see, Milner suspended, so we've got a new captain tonight, Jack, which will please you greatly. But I just think that we've got too much for Bournemouth if we play Firmino, I think Origi will score a goal tonight. I think, he's had some pretty bad games in front of goal. But I think Bournemouth's defence is going to open something up for him at some point if he runs. Liverpool look better under Klopp, but they do lack. It's a bit like Chelsea clinically. They're lacking in that final third. Also, when they're 1 goal up, they're panicking. So it's important to get that 2-goal cushion tonight, and that's why I think it'll be 3-1 to Liverpool.
Okay, let's move on to you, Milky.
Well, I kind of agree to some extent James's comments. I think Liverpool's their biggest problem is that they do a pressing game, and I really like the pressing game. It's sort of reminiscent, but even sort of more so when Brendan Rodgers' time when they had Luis Suarez. But it's more. I worry about their creation of chances. So I don't think they create that much in terms of creating chances for the strikers or the wingers to actually score one-on-ones or certain finishes. I actually think because of this, I've gone for a 1-0 win for Liverpool. I could not give you a goal scorer because if I name a goal scorer, he'll probably get injured. So I'm just going to leave it at 1-0. I think the home advantage will push Liverpool over the line. You know, Anfield, the night, you know, the singing of a "You'll Never Walk Alone." I think they'll push them over the line tonight. I think it'll be Klopp's first win, and it'll be in the Capital One Cup.
Now, do you think, Ryan? You said about the whole lack of quality finishing them. Do you think then that Origi hasn't really been helped when he's played those two or three games where people said he's not played that well?
Yeah, because let's face it. I mean, he did have a chance or two in his last game.
And Spurs, he had a few as well.
Yeah, but I don't like. You've got to remember that strikers only score like 20-30% of the time. If you're not creating like 10 or so chances for a striker, it's a likelihood that he may not like score 2 or 3. So you need to create chances for the strikers, and I don't think Liverpool do it. And for all the amount of fucking number 10s they've got, and like creative sort of players, they're not doing the job for their strikers. They're not getting into the box enough. They're not creating enough. Like, let's face it, this season, you've scored a sort of quite a lot of what I'd call like Coutinho goals, apart from Benteke's offside goal. It's been.
I don't think we scored many long range. I mean, Lallana's our top goal scorer in all competitions. I think. I think we scored goals through occasional individual brilliance, but there's not enough brilliance.
Yeah, and Lallana's goals have come really from individual brilliance, from him taking it past a few players. I don't think that he's actually
range. Emre Can's Benteke scored 3 goals. One of them was a Coutinho-esque goal. That, but the other 2 were.
Which was against what team, James?
Manchester United was his Coutinho-esque goal.
No, what was his offside? Who did he score an offside?
Goal was against Bournemouth, but he's.
All right. Is he there tonight? No, he's not. What shame.
Right, let's move on to Man City v Crystal Palace. I've gone for a 3-2 win to Manchester City. I based my thoughts, on what I think the team selection will be. I'm not sure if Vincent Kompany will start. He's just come back from injury, played the full 90 against Man United. I think Pellegrini will rest him tonight, and I think that will make Manchester City vulnerable to Crystal Palace, who are a really good team and have a fantastic season. Also, I think they'll have a much easier time if De Bruyne starts, although I don't think he will. On to you, James.
I'm going for Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 0. Admittedly, thinking about it from this perspective, I may have thought about it a bit like they're playing their Premier League teams. However, I would only see it as a success if Sterling gets injured, obviously. But I just think City have too much to take them over the line at their own stadium. I would go for Wilfred Boney goal, probably. But other than that, I couldn't really say much more than I think it would be 2-0.
On to you, Ryan.
Okay, I think it will actually be a draw. I think Man City will be held to a 1-1 draw, which will go to extra time and penalties. The reason being, I think Man City, whilst being a team of brilliance, and they will field some of their better stars, I just think that Crystal Palace will hold them steady, because I don't think Crystal Palace are an easy team to play on any day, and I don't think Man City are as strong as people make out to be. I think they of course they're one of the better teams in the league, but they can sometimes falter under pressure, and I think in this Carling Cup game they will.
Okay. Let's move on to Southampton Aston Villa. I've gone for 2-0 to Southampton, mainly because for a start off, Aston Villa don't have a manager. I don't expect their caretaker manager to do any miracles whatsoever. They've got a poor squad. They've invested poorly this season. I can't see where any of the goals come out. I think Rudy Gestede is a good player, but I don't think they're getting crosses into him properly. I think their defence is poor, and I think Brad Guzan is in awful form. I can't see anything but a Southampton win. On to you, James.
Yeah, I think that Southampton will win 3-0 actually. I think that, again, no manageritis. I think that no manager does not help. I think that Rudy Gestede is a threat, but again, I agree with you. Benteke and Delph left for 40 million, and the only 2 players I can name that definitely got this signed for free.
Ryan.
I think it's going to be Southampton 3, Villa 0. Basically for the same reasons that you guys have outlined. I don't think it's because they have no manager. It's just because I just don't see any optimism around the club at the moment. The way they're playing, abysmal. The game I watched, Chelsea versus Aston Villa, was absolutely dreadful. Like these are mistakes that you accidentally make on FIFA because you accidentally press the cross button or whatever. You know, it's dreadful. They are a club in real trouble. They've really let go the only players who can actually perform on any day. You know, and they haven't replaced them. You know, yeah, abysmal. That's it. Go on.
Okay, on to the final match for tonight. Man United v Middlesbrough. I've gone for 2-1 to United. I think that we're used to conceding against these type of teams. I think we'll concede early, but we'll come back and nick it late. I don't think we'll play Rooney tonight. I think he'll be rested. I think Depay will come in, possibly as a striker, or he might even play Fellaini up there, because you know what Louis van Gaal's like. I think we'll play our normal, slow, awful possession game that has no penetration whatsoever. I think it will be a hard-fought match, which will make Middlesbrough look better than they are. Moving on to you, James.
I think it will come 1-1. I think it will come 1-1. I think Middlesbrough will take the lead, like you. I think that Manchester United will come back at them. I think that Middlesbrough will be well set up, and I don't think United will get more than one goal past them. I think it might go to penalties. Beyond there, it's a lottery. If Middlesbrough take penalties as well as they did last season, in that infamous 31 penalty shootout with Liverpool, who knows who could win? If De Gea is in goal, I favour United to qualify anyway. But I agree with you. There's some issues at Manchester United that are kind of covered up by the results, and part of it is your style of play is absolutely decent.
Ryan.
Okay, I'm actually going to go for Middlesbrough 1-0 win, and the reason why it sort of plays into your theory about the way that United are playing. They're playing a very sort of slow, sort of slow build up play, slow with the ball. There's never sort of like any urgency to attack the other team, and I think it plays directly into the hands of teams like Middlesbrough, who will be strong in midfield. They will be very physical tonight, I reckon. I think that they've got a fair few good players who could play in the Premier League, and I think they will punish you with probably just 1 or 2 attacks. I don't think they will control it. I think United will probably get 75% possession like they usually do, but I just think that they won't have it in them, and they'll be surprised, like I think you were when you played. Was it MK Dons?
Oh yeah, they played MK Dons last 4.
And I don't think we 4-0, right? But I do think you will lose. 1-2-0.
Now, can I just, on the Middlesbrough point as well, Middlesbrough awfully unlucky not to go up, and I believe Milky watching them last season, playing with Patrick Bamford up front, wasn't it? And they played well, they have a good style of football, but also there was that game against Manchester City where at one point they were winning that game, and they looked super competitive with them, and on their day they can be any top team.
You've got to remember they've lost a few players. I mean, obviously they've lost Lee Tomlin, I believe. They've lost Patrick Bamford. I think they've got Thomas Callas on loan again. But I just think it'll play into their hands, and I don't think. I mean, we could always have a look, but I don't think they're having a great season.
No.
And I think this is probably they've basically got the cups this season to mount a go, and I think they'll be well up for it tonight.
I think they'll go up. I actually think they'll go up this season. I think they're one of the better teams. I've checked where they are in the league, but they're a good team. Middlesbrough. They'll fight for promotion either way, but they just have this little bit of something extra. They knocked Manchester City out of the cup last season at the FA Cup, and that was an incredible performance. I know they don't have Bamford anymore, although they might as well should. They're 4th in the league.
They're 4th, yeah.
1 point off Hull, who are 2nd.
Yes, that's not too bad.
They're going to fight for promotion, and I think they will go. This is not. Of last season.
And on that note, you've come to the end of the Sometimes Relevant, Always Talking Football League Cup special. Thank you for listening. Good night.